All right, let's talk about ley lines. We don't really use the phrase 100% diamond, but imagine you sail straight out on one tack from the center of the line to either side of the course and then tack over perfectly at your ley line. This we could call the 100% diamond. So imagine the 50% diamond as having 50% of the area of the 100% diamond. So obviously, if the 100% diamond is where a boat can sail close hauled and then close hauled, you're not going to be able to do one tack in the 50% diamond. Your boat is going to be sailing much lower than these actual lines. But that's the point, right? In any given race, you're going to be sailing upwind and then tacking back and forth through the middle of the course to get up there and then finally hit your ley line close to the mark when you can actually call it correctly. When we use the phrase stay in the 50% diamond, it doesn't mean you physically cannot leave this diamond on your way up, right? Like if you start at the pin end of the line or if you start at the boat end of the line, you're already not in the diamond because it's pretty small, right? But the idea is just that you're staying in that general area. Maybe you go out here, but then you're going to come back, right? You're going to come back to the center of the course. What you don't want to end up doing is going way out to the side and trying to call your ley line from, I don't know, 50 boat lengths or 70 boat lengths away. It's very easy to be off by just a little bit. Like if remember we're saying 45 degrees, so we're looking for about, come up to 45 and then back down. So we're looking for roughly 90 degrees or straight off our side. Well, if you're off by 2 degrees and you're calling the ley line from 50 boat lengths out, which that's reasonable if you're one tacking the race. That's about 700 feet in the 14-foot boats that we sail, right? So if you're 700 feet out and you miss the ley line by 2 degrees, it's a very minuscule amount. You're not going to be able to tell that. But if you look at that, that's given up 2 boat lengths. You've just given up 2 boat lengths over here that you could have had back by being off by only 2 degrees. Maybe it's a little worse. Maybe it's 5 degrees. Now you're off by 4.5 boat lengths. So going out to the edge, even if the wind stays perfectly steady, coming straight down the course, it's perfectly even. There's no shifts or anything. There's no better breeze on one side or the other. Just by missing that angle by a very minuscule amount, you've thrown away a few boat lengths. And if it's close up at the windward mark, the boats that are coming in right here, that could be the difference between crossing ahead of them and having to duck a whole line, right? Even if we give up just 2 boat lengths. And what is 2 degrees? Like, it's ridiculously small, right? You can barely tell a difference. Even 5 degrees, you're still only looking at something like that. And when you're trying to look at the ley line, when you're trying to look at 90 from this far away, that's a very easy mistake to make. So the reason we're talking about this is back at our last regatta, we saw something kind of interesting going on, where for several sets of races, we would have the leading boat would end up out on the right side, and for whatever reason, whatever they thought was smart to do, they would go out and try to call their ley line, like one tack race almost, and almost every time would be overstanding a bit because of what we talked about previously. Remember all this. So they would be coming up, and then here comes the boat behind them, right? So they're coming upwind, and then here comes the boat behind them, and they're thinking, all right, this guy must be on the ley line. Well, let me sail a little bit farther and get into clear air so that he's not covering me the whole way, right? He doesn't want to. His thinking is that he doesn't want to tack right here and have the green boat be feeding him dirty air all the way up the beat. So without seeing lines on the water, obviously they're not out there, he goes past and tacks over and starts following this guy in. All right, next boat behind him, same exact thought. He's going to go by and he's going to tack over and come in behind him, right? We keep going. Meanwhile, these guys are sailing up, and as they get closer to the line, they realize, oh gee, I'm not actually on the line. I actually kind of overstood a little bit. So we would be able to see these guys kind of heading down a little bit, easing their jib out. These guys behind them, they went even farther, so they're heading down even a little more. They're easing their jib out more. And so once you get back to like these boats, I can see their jib. Remember, we're heading upwind. We want to be going close hauled or we're losing distance. Their jib is out, like beyond the edge of the boat. And that's how far they've gone this way and are coming back. Close hauled would be up here, but if they go up here, they're just wasting time, right? They have to come over to the mark. So they're sailing so far down that they're just on like a reach. And for some reason, just everybody thinks that they have to do this. So they're going out, and every single other person is like, oh, I don't want to sail in dirty air. I'm going to go past everybody. And by the time you get to the end of the line, these guys have gone all the way across the river and ordered steak and potatoes for dinner, and they're coming back. And basically what you're doing is like, you're going in the courtroom, put your right hand up, repeat after me, I will not pass the boat in front of me. That's what's happening here. Like, if you follow in a line, that's not how racing works. You're never going to you're never going to change places if you all just keep following in a line. If you're like boat number 4 here, all your friends are watching from shore, oh look, he's in 5th place right now. That's not too bad out of 18 boats, right? Well, this guy's coming in, and these boats are just reaching in, and they're getting ready to round the mark. Well, gee whiz, a bunch of people went up the middle, and so they cruise in right here, tack underneath, and guess what? Lure boat has rights, so they get to keep going in here. They come along, tacking over. Oh, gee, we're actually not 5th. We're like 10th, because all these people came in from they came in and called their ley line perfectly, so they may have been way behind these guys and these guys and these guys, like boat speed wise, but because they sailed a much shorter distance just up the center of the course and then right to their perfect ley line, they are going to get around before them. And so suddenly, instead of doing okay, you're now way in the back of the fleet, because some people were smart and took the center of the course, called their ley line when they were 5 boat lengths out instead of 50, and so it was actually accurate. Maybe one of the reasons it's so hard, you have so many people doing this all the time, is kind of your mindset is you're sailing along and you think to yourself, let me go a little bit farther because I want to make sure that I make the ley line. And you kind of want to change that, like kind of want to flip that on its head, right? Instead of thinking that, you want to think, I should probably tack sooner because I don't want to miss the ley line, right? Instead of make sure I get to the ley line, it's make sure I don't miss the ley line. You definitely see that in every regatta, where you're not the boat that's in front is not ahead by a lot, they're ahead by a little bit, and those couple boat lengths at different times can really add up. So just kind of change that mindset. Instead of I have to get to the ley line, it's I don't want to get to the ley line if I'm way out here. We mentioned before other reasons why you don't want to go out to the edge of the course. Missing the ley line is just one of them. We've talked about shifts and how that affects you, how you lose ground if you're on the wrong side, right? But this is another reason why you want to stay more to the center. And there's always exceptions. We've talked about, light air. You don't want to be in the middle in light air because it's always dead. You want to be on a side. So you learn exceptions, but in general, stay in the middle, stay in the 50% diamond, and that's what pays off for you.